where every case is not just a story, but a mind-bending game, and behind every clue, there's always a new danger waiting in silence. You might think this is just another story, but by the end, it will mess with your mind in ways you won't expect. Welcome to Movox Range, because here, stopping means losing the mystery, and watching till the end means getting closer to the truth. This is the story of a girl named Morgan. She works as a janitor at a police station. One day, while cleaning, a piece of evidence from a murder case slips and falls to the floor. She has a habit. She notices everything, even the smallest details, and tries to understand them. As she bends down to pick it up, something feels off. One look at the evidence, and she realizes the man the police believe is the suspect is actually just a puppet in someone else's hands. And the victim's wife, the police have labeled her a suspect just because she disappeared that same day. But Morgan sees it differently. She walks up to the board, crosses out suspect, and writes victim. Then she quietly walks away. The next morning, Detective Carrick and his team arrive, and immediately something feels wrong. No one knows who changed the board. No one steps forward, so Carrick takes it personally. Frustrated, he checks the surveillance footage, and there she is, Morgan. As the case moves forward, a quiet realization spreads through the room. Something deeper is hiding beneath all of this. They bring her in from her home for questioning. Why interfere in a police investigation? What made her think the wife was a victim? Morgan doesn't argue. She simply lays out the photos and begins to explain. The wife is only considered a suspect because she vanished right after the murder. And yes, officially, no one else was in that house that day. But Morgan already sees a completely different story forming in her mind. But when you really look at the photos, it becomes clear there was a third person in that room that day. And what she doesn't realize yet is how dangerous that truth might be. It's possible the killer abducted the wife too, just to throw the police off track. Morgan starts connecting every piece of evidence, building a version of events no one else has even considered. She even suggests someone else could still be in danger. But when an officer brings that up, no one takes it seriously. They brush it off. Before verifying anything, Detective Carrick has Morgan detained for a day for interfering with police work. Meanwhile, the team pulls surveillance footage from outside the victim's house, and there it is, a girl arriving just 30 minutes before the murder. Suddenly, it feels like the case is finally moving somewhere, but the truth is still out of reach. They contact the girl. She denies everything, says she was home all day, never went near the house. Now the team is stuck again, confused, uncertain, and right then, it's time to release Morgan. As she's leaving, she takes one last look at the footage and calmly says something that stops everyone cold. The footage is fake. She points it out without hesitation. The date and timestamps are wrong, and just like that, a new doubt settles into everyone's mind. Detective Carrick immediately dismisses her claim, but the lieutenant steps in and asks Morgan to explain. But for the first time, the team starts to wonder if she might actually be right. Morgan explains, "Look at the wind. In the footage, it's blowing from south to north, but during summer and fall, it always flows the opposite way, north to south, which means this footage isn't recent. It's months old. Someone reused it, manipulated it to mislead the investigation. The real footage from that day was replaced. New timestamps, new dates, a perfect distraction." The team checks everything she said. Every detail holds up. Even the detectives are stunned. The case has completely shifted now, and slowly, the truth begins to surface. As Morgan starts to leave, the lieutenant stops her, asks one simple question. "How did you figure all this out?" Morgan pauses, then answers quietly. Her IQ is 160. Her ability to observe and process details far beyond average, and she spent years watching documentaries, studying patterns. That's how she sees what others miss. In the next moment, Detective Carey meets the victim's daughter, and what she hears next makes everything even stranger. The girl reveals a mysterious woman had sent a letter to her missing mother, and just like that, the case becomes even darker. The girl says something chilling. By the time her mother read that letter, the woman who sent it was already dead. Detective Carey freezes for a moment. What was in that letter, and how could it possibly connect to this murder? The mystery tightens. Every answer seems to create two more questions, and now everyone is searching for that one missing piece. To move forward, they need the letter. Carrie believes it has to be either at the victim's home or her office. She informs the lieutenant, and seeing how complex the case has become, the lieutenant makes a surprising call. He asks Morgan to step in and help handle it. First priority, the letter. Detective Carrick heads to the missing wife's office and asks the boss for permission to search the place, but the boss refuses, flat out, and that refusal, it raises more suspicion than answers. It feels like something is definitely being hidden inside that office. Later, inside, Carrick walks Morgan through every detail of the case, step by step, and that's when Morgan notices something subtle. The missing wife's sister isn't showing real concern. Even though she should be deeply connected to all of this, her reactions feel distant, almost detached. Right then, Morgan feels it, a quiet certainty. This case isn't just outside. Something inside the family is being buried. Detective Carrick takes Morgan to the girl's house for further questioning, and the moment Morgan steps in, she starts observing. The girl is a biologist, but something about her behavior feels off. She's tense, careful, like she's hiding something. Every movement carries a flicker of unease, and that alone makes her suspicious in Morgan's eyes. Morgan points it out to Carrick, but he doesn't see it. To him, nothing stands out. But now, one thing is clear. If they want answers, they need that letter. So that night, without telling anyone, Morgan sneaks into the office. Under the excuse of cleaning, she searches quietly and finds it. She takes the letter, safe on the wall. And when she brings it back to Carrick, his reaction is immediate. Anger. She could go to jail again for this. He warns her. Morgan doesn't hesitate. Whatever happens, happens. Just read it. Now all eyes are on the letter. The one thing that could change everything. And as they read it, the truth begins to surface. A powerful man in the city, Brian, has been harassing a high society woman named Sarah. Sarah wanted to file a case against him, and for that, she reached out to the missing wife for help. But before anything could happen, Sarah dies. And just like that, Brian becomes the prime suspect. Detective Carrick calls him in for questioning. And now, the entire investigation shifts toward him. The case just got a lot more serious. Well, Brian denies everything. Calm, direct, he says he didn't commit the murder. His reason? On the day of the murder, he wasn't even there. Outside, officers verify it. On that exact day, Brian was in Fountain City. And just like that, everything clashes. Meanwhile, another problem hits. The office boss, the same one who refused the search, shows up ready to press legal charges against Morgan for stealing the letter. Carrick is furious. Now, the case isn't the only problem. Morgan's situation is getting worse by the minute. He had already warned her, told her to stay away from actions like this, even asked her to return the letter. But now, all these complications are slowing down the investigation. So Carrick makes a decision. He removes Morgan from the case. But deep down, something doesn't sit right, because no matter how hard he tries, he can't connect Brian to the murder. The timeline doesn't make sense. The day of the killing, Brian was somewhere else entirely, and that contradiction becomes the biggest mystery of all. Then Morgan says something that changes everything. What if the murder didn't happen on the day everyone thinks it did? What if it happened days earlier and everything was staged later to make it look recent? Carrick looks at her, stunned. With so much noise, confusion, and pressure, how can she be so sure? But Morgan doesn't back down, and just like that, the entire direction of the investigation shifts again. To prove it, Morgan takes Carrick back to the victim's house. The moment they step inside, something feels wrong. The temperature is unusually low. Because of that, the body hasn't decomposed. Even the blood looks fresh. Morgan understands instantly. This was done on purpose. Someone controlled the environment to hide the real time of death. The stains preserved like they just happened. Carrick still doesn't fully see it, so Morgan lays it out. Lynette, the victim's wife, is missing. Her sister shows no real concern, no urgency, nothing that feels natural. But that's not the twist. The real detail is the timing. All the clues now point in one direction, something no one noticed before. She traveled to Fountain on the exact same dates Brian did, and everything in this house suggests the murder happened during that window. Put it together and it starts to make sense. Brian wasn't just involved, he was close to her, possibly her lover. When Brian found out Lynette was going to support Sarah's case against him, he panicked. He used Lynette's sister, turned her against him, created pressure, threats, and when Lynette's husband tried to scare him off with a gun, Brian didn't back down. Now the truth is surfacing, slowly but clearly. The real face of the story is finally being revealed. Instead, Brian tried to grab the gun, and in that struggle, the husband was shot. It happened suddenly, but everything after that was carefully planned. Now it wasn't just an accident, it became a murder cover-up. To hide it all, they needed control, and Lynette became the key. Her sister, a biologist, helped plan everything. Protect the image, protect the name. They lowered the house temperature to preserve the scene, made old evidence look fresh. The surveillance footage replaced. Old clips, new timestamps. A perfect illusion. And Lynette kidnapped the same day, so it would look like she killed her husband and ran. Morgan studies the scene, thinking ahead now. Not just what happened, but what comes next. Because if they went this far, where would they hide her? Her instinct hits the mark. They track the location, find Lynette, and pull her out alive. Soon after, the criminals are caught. The case is closed. Everyone is stunned. Morgan solved something this complex, almost effortlessly. The lieutenant offers her a job as a detective, but she refuses. The work takes too much time, and she has a family to care for. In the final moments, we see her with her daughter, and even after everything she's won, something still feels broken. Her daughter resents her father, believes he chose to leave them, and that quiet pain still lingers beneath it all. Her husband disappeared 15 years ago, and since then, no trace, nothing. Morgan carries that weight every day, because her daughter believes the worst, that her father abandoned them on purpose. But Morgan never believed that, not for a second. She wants the truth, she needs it. That pain never really leaves her. It sits quietly, always there. The next day, she accepts the lieutenant's offer, but on one condition. He helps her find her husband. And he agrees. Life moves forward. Morgan returns home and finds something unexpected. Her daughter has won first prize in a college painting competition. Morgan is overwhelmed with joy. She proudly brings out her husband's old paintings, trying to share that connection. But her daughter reacts instantly. Anger, frustration. Even now, she believes her father chose to leave. That moment, raw and emotional, deepens everything between them. And then, a knock on the door. Morgan opens it. It's the lieutenant, and this time, he brings news. 3 days after her husband disappeared, his car was found. It had been brought into a police station. Inside the car, there were diapers. And suddenly, a new possibility emerges. Maybe he didn't leave. Maybe something else happened. The diapers say everything. He was coming back for his children. He never planned to leave them. Morgan's eyes fill with tears. And for the first time, even her daughter begins to question what she believed. Days pass. Morgan continues working as a detective, solving cases, helping bring criminals in faster than ever. At the same time, the lieutenant keeps digging into her husband's past. And then, a breakthrough. 15 years ago, one of their own officers had arrested Morgan's husband. The reason? Illegal wall paintings in a building known for housing criminals. This changes everything. The lieutenant tells Morgan maybe he got involved in something dangerous. Maybe someone took him. Because that place, it's not just a building, it's a hub for criminals. Morgan listens, then quietly shows him photographs. Paintings her husband created. Detailed, powerful, meaningful. She shakes her head. She doesn't believe that version. Deep down, she knows something wrong happened to him, not the other way around. Months pass, and after endless work, Morgan finally receives her official badge as a detective. She's overwhelmed with happiness. To celebrate, she steps into the washroom, taking a quick photo of herself just to capture the moment. But then, everything shifts. A woman suddenly rushes in, crying. Morgan immediately asks what happened, and just like that, the celebration turns into the beginning of a new case. The woman says her 2 daughters are missing. She came straight to the station to report it. Morgan tries to calm her. She tells her not to panic. The girls will be found safe. Detective Carrick and Morgan begin the investigation. They visit the woman's house, talk to her and her father. During the conversation, a key detail comes out. The woman is divorced. Her ex-husband is an environmentalist, but he wants something else now. And just like that, suspicion turns toward him. The custody battle, the repeated court cases, everything points in his direction. Then they discover something else. He applied for passports for both daughters last month. It looks like he might have been planning to take them away. Carrick and Morgan head to his house. No one is inside, but Morgan notices something unusual. A small greenhouse nearby. Inside, cucumbers and tomatoes are growing together, and that's when Morgan realizes something here doesn't add up. In a single controlled space, 2 plants that shouldn't naturally grow together, and if he's truly an environmentalist, he would know that. Carrick asks, "Are you saying this greenhouse was recently built, that something is hidden here?" Morgan replies calmly, "It's possible the plants were removed quickly. Something might have been buried underneath." And now, suspicion deepens. The truth feels closer than ever. Then comes the shock. The man they suspected is found dead. He wasn't the suspect anymore. He was the victim, murdered. And now the realization hits hard. If he's dead, then the 2 daughters are in even greater danger. The priority shifts immediately. They need to inform the mother. They go to her home, and what they find surprises them. She lives in extreme luxury, a private driver, a large property, a life far from ordinary. Carrick and Morgan begin speaking with her. Meanwhile, Morgan talks to the housemaid, and that's when a new detail emerges. The day the man was killed, the grandfather was seen arriving at the house. He looked nervous, disturbed, and just like that, the case takes a sharp turn. Morgan digs deeper into the victim's neighborhood. She pulls records from child services, behavior reports, custody evaluations, but something doesn't match. The official reports are extremely negative. That's why the court denied custody. But neighbors and relatives describe a completely different person. That contradiction says everything. Someone inside the system is involved. Morgan tells Carrick this isn't just misinformation, it's manipulation. And now it's clear. Someone is deliberately hiding the truth. They investigate the social worker behind the reports. Her name is Sarah, red hair, well known in the system. She was even seen multiple times with the victim. They go to her house, and Morgan immediately notices something odd. Her lifestyle doesn't match her salary. Cheap kitchen supplies, yet imported flour from Hawaii. And that contradiction becomes the biggest clue. Expensive hotel slippers, luxury bills on the table. Everything points to one thing. She was being paid, bribed, not by her, but by the wealthy grandfather, the same man trying to control the custody case. And now, the real mastermind begins to surface. Morgan confronts her with the truth, and Sarah finally breaks. She admits it. She was bribed to write false reports, to destroy the victim's reputation, but she insists she had nothing to do with the murder. The grandfather is arrested. The investigation continues through the household staff. The driver confirms something crucial. The grandfather left alone on the day of the murder. No driver, no witnesses. Now, every piece of evidence points in one direction. The truth is nearly exposed. Carrick questions the grandfather at the station, but he denies everything. Carrick doesn't accuse him directly. Instead, he says, maybe you didn't kill him. Maybe you hired someone to do it. And in that moment, the old man's silence becomes the loudest confession of all. Carrick pushes further. He says the old man didn't just hide the truth, he had a deeper motive. The victim knew about his illegal dealings, and that's something he couldn't tolerate. The man keeps denying everything, but by now, the detectives are convinced this is part of a much larger conspiracy. Meanwhile, another thread of the investigation reveals something darker. The old man didn't act alone. He hired someone to kill his own son-in-law. That man is eventually captured, but the 2 missing girls are still nowhere to be found. And then, another shock. The mother disappears too, right after the arrest. Now suspicion shifts again. Some believe she might be protecting her father, hiding his crimes, but Morgan doesn't accept it. Something still feels off. The truth isn't complete yet. She pushes back against the theory. But then, a new update arrives. An officer reports that the mother mother withdrew a large sum of money from the bank just moments ago. That detail changes everything. Did she really help the kidnapping? Or is something else going on? That night, Morgan sees the news again. The missing girls all over the reports. And now the case becomes even more tangled. Every clue creates a new question instead of an answer. Back at home, Morgan notices something strange. In a photo frame behind the children's picture, she spots a valuable artifact, a Buddha statue. She freezes because she remembers clearly there was no such item in that house during their visit, which means someone stole it. And that small detail suddenly becomes a major lead. Morgan immediately informs Carrick. These artifacts are rare. If they trace where it was sold, they might find the connection to the kidnapping. They head to the artifact shop, and there they find the mother already present, selling more items. Morgan is stunned. She asks her directly, why withdraw the money and why sell these artifacts? The woman finally breaks. She says she received a call from the kidnapper. He demanded money, and she was forced into it. If she told the police, her daughters would be killed. That's why she stayed silent. Now the truth shifts again. This wasn't greed, it was fear. Morgan understands, and she immediately calls Carrick. Together, they reassure the mother. Her daughters will be safe. And now, they set a plan, a controlled trap for the kidnapper. They agree to proceed carefully. No arrests, no sudden moves. They will go with the money and follow the exchange. At the location, the mother hands over the cash. The kidnapper grabs it and escapes without releasing the girls. Panic spreads instantly. The situation is slipping out of control. But Carrick stays calm. He reveals something important. The money bag had a hidden tracker. They begin tracking the signal, but when they reach the car, there's no money and no children. Something is wrong. Then Morgan notices something unusual. The car radio is playing a specific talk show. It triggers a memory. The driver was listening to the same program on the day of the crime, and now suspicion shifts sharply toward him. Morgan connects another detail. The driver always parked in a position where the rearview mirror clearly showed the mother. Piece by piece, the pattern forms, and Morgan reaches a conclusion. The driver wasn't just present, he was emotionally involved, and that involvement may have driven everything. The driver's motive becomes clearer. He kidnapped the children to get money and hoped to leave his job and marry the woman. Morgan now believes he may also be connected to the murder and the disappearance of the girls. They interrogate him. He admits something, but not everything. He didn't kill the man, but he did kidnap the daughters. However, during transport to the mountains, the girls escape from his control, and now even he doesn't know where they are. The situation escalates immediately. The girls are still in danger. The team rushes to the location he mentioned. In the mountains, Morgan notices markings on trees, signs left behind. The girls' father had taught them survival and environmental tracking. Those skills now become their lifeline. Following the trail, the team finally finds both girls and rescues them, safe, alive. The case is finally closed. Morgan delivers them back to safety, and just like that, another impossible case is solved. The next day arrives quietly, and once again, Morgan proves that even the most tangled mysteries can be unraveled one detail at a time. She takes her daughter to the police station just to show her where she works. The girl goes to the washroom, and in that brief moment, everything changes. A stranger walks into the station, calm, calculated, too calm. Before anyone can react, she disarms an officer, taking his gun, and within seconds, the entire station is under control. The atmosphere shifts instantly. Silence turns into panic. Nobody knows what's coming next, and then she drops the truth like a bomb. There are explosives placed across different parts of the station, hidden, ready. She didn't do it alone. She had help. A partner is still inside. While she threatens the officers and starts collecting their phones, her partner moves in too fast. Morgan barely gets a chance. She sends out a warning message just in time, but her daughter hears the gunfire, and she runs back straight into danger. Now, everything becomes personal. The situation is no longer just tactical, it's emotional. The hijacker finally speaks. One of their colleagues was arrested for murder, but they believe he was innocent. They fought in court, they tried everything, but they lost. And now, she says she's here for justice, nothing else. Her voice carries anger and pain. It's clear this isn't just a crime, it's desperation. She says it again. She wants justice, and now the entire situation changes shape. This is no longer just a hostage crisis, it's a fight over truth itself. Outside the station, Lieutenant and Detective Carrick are briefed on what's happening inside. They learn something critical. The attackers are military officers. The lieutenant receives a call. The message is simple: find the evidence quickly, or everyone inside dies. The case is reopened immediately. Every detail is under review again. What actually happened earlier was brutal. The senior officer was found dead inside a van, and all signs pointed to one man, Logan. He had argued with the officer before the murder, but nothing is clear, nothing is simple. No solid proof exists to confirm his innocence either. Inside the station, the hostages themselves start reviewing the case history, and Logan becomes the central suspect again. The question spreads through everyone's mind: is Logan really guilty, or is there something far deeper? Reppy. Morgan studies the scene carefully. At the murder location, she notices something strange. Blood patterns with a clean corner, as if something had been removed. A page torn out. That missing document becomes the most important clue in the entire case. Whoever took it could be the real killer. Morgan immediately contacts Carrick and the lieutenant. She asks about the military van. Was anything found inside? A paper. The answer is no, nothing. But there was a laptop. Morgan tells them to check it, see what file was last accessed. process. The investigation turns digital now. The last work file reveals something important. The Major was preparing a report to punish a soldier. With no clear breakthrough, they bring in the Major's daughter. She reveals something unusual. The night before his death, he cancelled a dinner with her, the first time in years, and the next morning he was dead. Morgan realizes they need his final movements. She retrieves his phone from evidence and checks the last location. Every detail now matters, even the smallest one. The phone leads them to one final location, a drug trafficking zone. Morgan connects the dots. The soldier the Major was investigating must have been involved in drugs. The focus shifts back inside the military unit. The real suspect begins to take shape. Meanwhile, inside the station, tension rises again. The hostage taker becomes anxious. Her partner tries to calm her down, says there's no need to panic. They still have control. But panic spreads anyway. An officer attempts to act, tries to disarm the situation. It fails. A gun goes off. An officer is shot in the leg. Chaos breaks out. Morgan immediately calls for an ambulance. Every second matters now, but the attackers refuse to listen. So Morgan changes her approach. She speaks calmly, emotionally. She reveals something that shifts everything. The woman leading the attack was pregnant at the time, and she had a relationship with Logan. That single truth begins to crack the entire standoff from within. She was with the same officer who had just been arrested. When the second partner hears this, he snaps. Rage takes over instantly. It feels like betrayal, like she had hidden the truth from him all along. His face carries anger and the pain of broken trust. The tension inside the room rises again, but the woman speaks up. She says she didn't betray anyone. She just didn't tell them she was pregnant. Logan is their friend, and right now, the only thing that matters is getting him released. Seeing how emotionally unstable the situation has become, Morgan steps in again. She pushes them to calm down and asks for immediate medical help for the injured officer. Finally, they agree. The officer is taken out in an ambulance with Morgan's daughter assisting, and just like that, the situation slightly stabilizes. But the investigation continues. They go back to the CCTV footage, trying to identify the last person Major met, but the footage is too blurred. No face is clear, no identity confirmed, and as time passes, frustration builds. One side is losing patience, while the woman keeps insisting if they stay calm, the truth will come out. I wonder what you do for a day. Why do you feel that person weighs or he's? She repeats it again, don't panic. Meanwhile, Morgan studies old reports, and then she finds something important. The Major had purchased a tracking device just days before his death. That changes everything. He wasn't just investigating someone, he was tracking them. Morgan retrieves the Major's phone and checks the tracker data. The last track signal leads directly to a drug dealership. Morgan immediately informs Carrick. The killer didn't know the Major had left a tracking device behind, and now that device could lead them straight to the truth. Everything begins to align. The suspect the Major was following is now the prime suspect in his murder. Same location, same timeline, same movement pattern, and the tracking data confirms it. The same person entered the Major's military van that night. Now the location of the murder is identified. Carrick moves in immediately and arrests the suspect. The case is almost solved. Only one final step remains to reveal the complete truth. In desperation, one of them knocks out his partner and then threatens everyone, saying he will blow the entire place up with a bomb. But Morgan stays calm. She says there is no bomb. He is bluffing. She reads the situation carefully and refuses to be manipulated. Her clarity shifts the balance again. The tension breaks slightly. Hope returns. The woman also regains consciousness and confirms the truth. The bomb threat was fake. A lie to control the situation. Slowly, the attackers are overpowered. The hostages are freed. The officers regain control. Outside, Morgan finally reunites with her daughter. The crisis is over. Logan is released as well, cleared after the truth comes out. Everyone finally breathes again. The case closes. A few days later, Lieutenant calls Morgan into his office. There is progress in her husband's missing case. They have found a name connected to him, someone he met multiple times before disappearing. And just like that, the story shifts back into Morgan's personal mystery. The man's name is Geo Conford, but Morgan doesn't recognize it, not even slightly. The lieutenant arranges a meeting between them. When they finally meet, Morgan asks him directly about her husband, missing for 15 years. This moment could change everything. The man denies knowing him at first, completely. Morgan breaks down slightly and asks for help. She says she is willing to do anything just to find her husband. Then the man makes a deal. He says he has a nephew in prison. If Morgan can get him released, he will help her. The lieutenant agrees to the arrangement. Now, it becomes a trade. Justice for truth. Carrick is brought into the case again, and the negotiation begins. Meanwhile, on her way home, Morgan is stopped by Conford. He tells her quietly he knows things about her husband, but he will only speak if his nephew is freed. And just like that, Morgan is pulled back into another dangerous bargain. The past is no longer distant. It is coming closer, step by step. They solve multiple cases, one after another. And then one day, a robber shows up at the station with a surprising announcement. He has organized a party for all the detectives. Everyone gets excited for a moment. A rare break, a celebration. But before anyone can even think about it, Detective Carrick receives an email. The message contains information about a man, something urgent, something off. It feels like the beginning of a new threat, and instantly, the mood shifts. The focus moves to an abduction case. The kidnapped man is seen holding a board that reads, "You have only 2 hours for your next move." They pull up his identity immediately and rush to his house, but he isn't there. there. Only a parcel is left outside. They take it back to the station. Morgan quickly examines it. Inside, a jigsaw puzzle. Time is running out. Every second feels heavier than the last. As she solves it piece by piece, a map begins to form. But one piece is missing, and that missing piece points to the exact location where the man is being held. The next stage of the kidnapper's game is already in motion. They are being tested at every step. The location leads them into the mountains, deep forests, silent terrain, and there they find cards scattered across the path. Each one is a clue, another layer of the puzzle. They solve them one by one until they finally reach the place where the man is being held. The kidnapper wasn't just hiding him, he was playing with them, testing them, and enjoying every second of it. They rescue the man successfully. Once he recovers, they ask him who did this and why, but he has no answers. He says he was walking home when someone attacked him and took him away. The kidnapper always wore a mask, never showed his face. He made him play twisted games again and again. And now it's clear the kidnapper is extremely careful, always hidden, always in control. Morgan starts connecting patterns. This isn't random. It feels like someone obsessed with puzzles, games, control. Later that night, Comfort calls again. He reveals something new about Morgan's husband. Before he disappeared, he was working with a woman named, it sounds like, the real spiral of heavy, wandering construct. Morgan doesn't recognize the name, but now the past feels even deeper and more tangled than ever. The next day, Morgan arrives at the station. The investigation into the kidnapper is still active, still unresolved, and then another disturbing delivery arrives. A baby box. Inside it, 3 dolls and a new set of clues. The entire station is confused again. The pattern continues. Every message is a puzzle. Every clue, another game. One officer speaks up. He claims he knows who the kidnapper is. He believes the man is part of a therapy group, a support circle for people abandoned by loved ones. The group treats emotional trauma, but something about it feels off. The officer is sent to investigate the therapy sessions. Meanwhile, Morgan studies the dolls. Each one seems symbolic, carefully placed, deliberate. The officer later reports back. The man didn't show up today. Other members describe him as strange, isolated, broken. His sister had left him, and that loss changed everything. Now, the truth becomes clearer. The kidnapper isn't just playing games. He's emotionally fractured. The dolls, the puzzles, the messages, all tied to his trauma. Finally, they trace his address. Morgan and Detective Carrick head there immediately. Everyone believes this time they are finally going to face him directly and bring the game to an end. The apartment is in chaos, like a struggle just ended here. When the lights go out, they notice something glowing on the wall. A message written in light itself. It says, "Never talk in the dark." Morgan understands it instantly. This isn't random. It's a coded signal. Something only a trained mind would catch. And she does. The realization hits her deeper. Deaf people can't communicate in the dark unless they use signs. Which means the kidnapper works with deaf individuals. And that changes everything. At the office, when they examine the dolls, every one of them has hand gestures shaped like sign language. Decoded carefully, it leads them to another location. There, they find another victim, locked inside a vault after being abducted. A cross inside the room becomes the key clue. Morgan's sharp instincts kick in again. She saves the life just in time. She cracks the vault code and pulls the woman out. That woman was from the same therapy group he attended. A routine gathering. Nothing unusual on the surface. But now it's clear. The lieutenant understands the truth. The kidnapper is targeting people like them from the inside circle. Security is immediately requested for all therapy members. And everyone is warned. Tonight might not be over yet, because now it's obvious this is a pattern, and the next strike could happen anytime. Everyone returns home to get ready for the evening party. Morgan comes back too, when suddenly her phone buzzes. A message from Conforce. Location, time, and one line that changes everything. If you want answers about your husband, come alone. Detective Carrie Deck meets an FBI contact. The message feels like a trap, but also a door she can't ignore. They ask about a woman often seen with Morgan's husband. Her name, Lilo Fillin. The FBI agents react instantly, shocked, because Lilo Fillin wasn't just anyone. She was a covert FBI agent, killed 15 years ago. Before leaving, Carrie is handed a file, full profile, classified history, everything about Lilo Fillin. Meanwhile, another scene shifts. A man from the same therapy group, also a detective, prepares to leave for duty. He gets into his car. The moment he sits down, the airbag explodes. Not an accident, a signal, a warning. And then, a masked figure appears. The kidnapper. He takes him. Right there. Now it's clear. Even police are not safe anymore. At the party, people are trying to enjoy themselves, but something feels off. They notice the officer is missing. Calls go unanswered. The lieutenant sends someone to check his house immediately. Meanwhile, Detective Carrie and Morgan are seen dancing. The tension sits underneath every moment. Outside looks normal. Inside, something dangerous is building. Carrie asks Morgan for permission to open the husband case again. She shares everything, even Conforce's contact. Before anything can move forward, an emergency call breaks in. The officer sent to check the house reports something disturbing. The car, its airbag deployed, but the officer is nowhere. Not in the car, not inside the house. Only clues remain. And now it's confirmed. The kidnapper is active again. And this time, he targeted law enforcement itself. The team leaves the party immediately. They follow the clue to a luxurious house with a swimming pool. And there, they see him, the officer, tied inside the pool, wearing an oxygen mask. Every second second matters now. One delay and it's over. Morgan and Detective Carey act fast. They reach him just in time, pulling him out and saving his life. Next morning, pressure builds. Carey pushes Comforce hard and finally extracts information about Morgan's husband case. The story starts shifting again back toward Morgan's personal mystery, the one question that connects everything. Later, she goes grocery shopping with her family. A boy helps them at the store, nothing unusual. But when they return home, a strange box is inside their bag. A sticker on it reads, "You are Morgan." At the station, the rescued officer draws a sketch of the kidnapper. It gets sent to Morgan. She sees it and freezes. The boy from the grocery store. The one who helped her. The one who left the box. Before she can react, another call comes in. Her husband is still alive. Where he is remains unknown. And with that, the story ends. Even after the case is finally closed, one question still lingers in the air. Did Morgan ever truly uncover the full truth about her husband? Or was everything she learned just the surface of something far bigger? A deeper game still unfolding somewhere in the shadows. And if you want more stories like this, more twisted crime cases, psychological thrillers, and unpredictable mysteries that keep you guessing till the end, then don't pause here. Subscribe to Movox Range right now, because what's coming next isn't just another case. It's a secret that could change everything you think you know.